Okay, so in this video, I'm going to introduce the concept of basic functions. And basic functions use your standard math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and those sorts of things for calculations. And we need that because not everything basically lends itself to a built-in function. Let's talk about the operators real quick. Of course, we've got add, subtract, multiply, can't spell, multiply, divide, and raise to a power, right? And the operators we do, plus is for addition. I think that's pretty standard, and minus, we all know those. When you want to multiply in Excel, you use star. Shift 8 or star on the keypad, both of them work. Divide is a slash, okay? And again, it's on the keyboard or on the keypad, either one. And raise to a power is a caret, okay? So those are that. The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing formulas is standard order of operations applies. So what does that mean? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, all the way back to what, 5th grade math, right? It's basically, let's come over here and we'll do it here, parentheses, right? Exponentiation, multiplication, and division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. There we go. Okay, yeah, it didn't like that, I know. Okay, so that's what you're looking at there. That's your standard order of operations. How does that come into play? Well, if I want to add, and I always start with the equal. I haven't gotten that far yet, but always when you're doing formulas, functions, anything, equal, it says, hey, Excel, I'm doing some sort of calculation here. When you start with the equal. So if I wanted to add 6 plus 8 and multiply it times 9, if I put it in like that, it's going to multiply 8 times 9 and then add 6. If I put it in 6 plus 8 times 9, then what I have is 6 and 8 are added and then 9 is multiplied. So you see that makes a difference. So you always want to check when you're entering your formulas to make sure it's doing things in the order that you expect it to. So how does that impact us? And again, I gave that example with numbers, and sometimes you want to use numbers when you're using formulas, but most of the time you want to use cell addresses. Cell addresses are the real strength of Excel, and I'll kind of show you why. Okay, let's look here. So right now we've got our half year total, right? So now we want to know projection of what our full year. And let's just assume, there's a couple ways we can look at this. We'll call it year projection 1. Okay, and I'm going to wrap that so that it's that. And I'll adjust my column width. So there we go. It fits, and we will say, okay, so if we did that much for half a year, then for the full year, we'll multiply that times 2. So that'll be our first projection. How do I set that up? Well, there's a couple things I can do. Start with my equal, enter or type in, click on or type in. So I can, let's say, click on the cell H4, or I can type in the H4, that's the cell address, times, it's the star, and then the number 2. Okay, so that would be one way to do it. The other way I can do it, again, equal, and this would be H5 times 2. So I can type, which you probably can't see the difference in what I'm doing. Now, as with built-in functions, with formulas, once you have one that works, it's a good idea to use the fill handle. Okay, now what if I said, and a lot of people want to do this when you're learning Excel, I said, oh, well, half your total is 4,746. So I'm going to enter equals 4746 times 2. And I'm going to enter the actual number. And you get the same answer. So don't go, oh, see, there's nothing wrong with that. What happens now if I come back in and say, oh, May number was wrong, it's not 564, it's 664. Okay, when I enter it, see how the half year total changes? This one didn't. If I put it in as equals this times 2, then when I change this, Okay, I'll put it back to what it was. You see how the number changes. Using cell address lets you change the numbers and still have the correct answers. So it's very important that for most of what you do, wherever possible, you use cell addresses and the copying. Okay, let's look at another example. Maybe we're going to do two projections. So let's do the average first. Now average, there's a built-in function for that. But for now, we're going to say we did 6 months, we know the total, so we're going to use old school math and we're going to say equals the total divided by 6. Okay, that's another way of calculating average. It works. It's the function is better only because if you have more than 6, you don't have to count. It counts for you. You don't have said it's less thinking. Always in Excel, the goal is to do less work. Let Excel do the work. There's easier on you and less chance for errors. I'm going to fill that formula down, okay, and then we'll do our year projection 2, and we will wrap that right there. Change that width a little bit. And this time we're going to say that the average projection times 12. Okay, so that's our monthly average. That equals the average projection times 12. So that'll be our second projection. Actually, it works out the same because it's the average. So I didn't think that went all the way through, but you can see how that works. And again, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division all work the same way for entering them. A lot of times we can use formulas to figure things out. So just put a little thought into your formula, makes your life a whole lot easier. Okay.